Can you imagine the Holy Scripture turning someone into a millionaire in just 6 months? Sounds crazy, right? But I'll show you why most people read the Bible incorrectly, and as a result, don't reap the benefits it promises. The truth is, it's not just a religious book. It's a practical guide to wealth, success, and self-development. And if you correctly apply what I'll reveal here, in 6 months your life could be completely different. The Bible teaches that a man is as his thoughts. This sentence is simple, yet it carries a power few truly understand. The reality you live today is simply a reflection of the ideas you've nurtured over the past few years. And here's a reality almost no one wants to face. If your mind is filled with worries, fears, and beliefs of scarcity, no matter how hard you work, you'll always feel limited. Think with me. How many times have you believed you weren't born to be rich? That money is only for those who inherited fortunes or for those with privileged connections. How many times have you observed someone successful and thought, they're lucky? These ideas seem harmless, but they're seeds. And every seed planted in your mind sprouts into your behavior, your choices, and inevitably your results. I've experienced this firsthand. There was a time when I believed my destiny was just to survive with arduous, low-paying jobs. I worked in factories, gas stations, fixing tires, changing oil, cleaning up dirt, and the most painful part is that I couldn't see a way out. I truly believed my life would be a never-ending cycle of overdue bills and unmotivating jobs, all because my mind was trapped in a negative self-image. I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe I could achieve something great. But the change began when I understood that it wasn't the lack of opportunities that restricted me, it was my own mind. When I got the book Think and Grow Rich, I had no formal education, no special skills, no brilliant plan. I only had a new conviction that I could change my way of thinking about myself and about life. That idea alone ignited a flame that completely altered the course of my story. Current science corroborates what the Bible stated millennia ago. Studies in psychology demonstrate that our thoughts directly shape our emotions and actions. People who cultivate thoughts of abundance become more resilient, creative, and open to opportunities. Those who nurture thoughts of scarcity feel more anxiety, make hasty decisions, and even sabotage their own chances of prospering. Do you see how this connects to what you're experiencing today? Imagine the following scene. You receive your salary at the end of the month. What's the first thought that comes to your mind? For most, it's something like it won't be enough or it barely covers expenses. That thought triggers emotions of fear and frustration. And these emotions influence your decisions. You postpone investments, avoid new ideas, cling to a job you hate, accept crumbs as if it were the best you could have. That's how the cycle perpetuates itself. Now imagine that, faced with the same salary, your thought was, this is just a portion of what's to come because there's more abundance arriving. How would you feel? What decisions would you make if you truly believed that? The difference between those who prosper and those who don't lies precisely there, in their way of thinking. Consider the example of Walt Disney. He was fired from a newspaper because, according to his boss, he lacked creativity. If he had believed that seed of scarcity, he would never have built the Disney empire. But he chose to feed his mind with another truth, that his vision was worthwhile. That mental decision transformed the lives of millions of people around the world. And maybe you're thinking now, but I already try to think positively and nothing changes. And I ask you, do you truly believe? Or do you just repeat motivational phrases while deep down you feel fear and insecurity? The Bible doesn't talk about repeating empty words. It talks about believing with all your heart. This is where many err. They try to deceive the conscious mind, but in their hearts, they remain trapped by fear. I learned that the mind is like a fertile field. If you plant the seed of scarcity, the soil doesn't judge, it simply makes it grow. If you plant abundance, the same thing happens. And what defines the harvest is not the quality of the soil, but the quality of the seed. Therefore, if you want to transform your life in just 6 months, start now by observing every thought that goes through your mind. Do a simple test. For 7 days, every morning, write on a piece of paper, I am prosperous because my mind is prosperous. Read it aloud, Feel the words. Allow each repetition to be a drop of water nourishing the seed of abundance within you. You'll notice that as the days go by, your emotions begin to change. And when your emotions change, your actions also change. This is the beginning of transformation. The Bible never said it would be easy, but it made it clear that everything starts within you. The poverty you see out there is just a reflection of the poverty you nurture internally. And when you change what's inside, what's outside has no choice. It needs to align with your new reality. This is where the process of prosperity becomes inevitable. Because when your mind becomes convinced that you were born for abundance, nothing can prevent that abundance from manifesting. Many people believe that having faith is simply waiting for things to fall from the sky. They spend years praying, asking for prosperity, asking for a better life, but they continue repeating the same habits, the same choices, and the same mistakes. And when nothing changes, they conclude that perhaps it's not God's will for them to prosper. But the truth is different. Faith without action is inert. The Bible is clear about this. It's not enough to believe with your mouth if your hands remain idle, if your life continues to be guided by fear and inertia. How many times have you told yourself, "I believe God will help me," and on the same day spent more than you could, failed to learn something new, or gave up on an opportunity because it seemed too risky? That's not faith. That's illusion. Genuine faith demands movement. It demands that you prove through your actions that you believe what you say you believe. I lived this very intensely in my life. When I worked in the fire department, I had stability. It was a respected job with a fixed salary, but also with a limit that I could already foresee in my future. If I stayed there, my life would be defined. Balanced accounts, repetitive routine, and no room for growth. It was at that moment that I had to choose. Trust in what I said I believed, or settle for something that gave me security, but without hope of prosperity. I quit my job. It was a decision that scared everyone around me. They told me I was going crazy, that I was wasting a guaranteed life. But I knew that if I wanted to transform my reality, I would have to act based on the faith I was cultivating. And that decision led me to open my first business. I had no experience, no degree, no one to guide me. But I had faith accompanied by action. In my first year, I had already earned more than $100,000, an amount equivalent to a significant sum in other currencies depending on the exchange rate. Now I want you to think, how many times have you failed to take a step because it seemed too risky? How many times have you preferred the security that keeps you trapped in a lifestyle you don't love, instead of taking a leap of faith? Fear paralyzes, and that's exactly what prevents so many people from seeing the results they desire. Current research in neuroscience shows that when you believe in something and act towards it, the brain begins to create new neural connections, strengthening your confidence. It's as if each action were a brick placed in the construction of a new reality. But when you believe and don't act, the brain interprets that there is no real importance, and that faith is lost in the void. This explains why so many people pray for years without seeing changes. They don't align their faith with their behavior. An inspiring example of this is the story of Elon Musk. He believed he could transform the world with electric cars and space exploration. But notice, believing wasn't enough. He invested every last cent he had, risked everything, including his personal comfort. If he had just stood still, waiting for it to work out, he would never have built anything. His faith was accompanied by bold action, and that's exactly why the results were extraordinary. Maybe today you're praying for a better job, for your own business, for financial freedom. But the question is, what are you doing to show that you believe in it? Are you preparing yourself? Are you investing in knowledge? Are you acting like someone who truly believes? Or are you just waiting for a miracle that never comes? Faith demands courage. It demands that you do things you haven't done before, that you move even when you don't see all the pieces of the path. The Bible never said you had to see the whole journey. It only said, take the first step. The rest is revealed when you're already in motion. And I'm going to suggest something simple but powerful. For the next 30 days, choose one action that represents the faith you say you have. If you believe you can prosper, then start saving a portion of your money, even if it's small. If you believe you can grow professionally, dedicate yourself to learning a new skill, even if you don't yet know how you'll apply it. If you believe you can own a business, take the first step toward structuring an idea. Because when you begin to act in alignment with your faith, life starts opening doors that once seemed invisible. Faith is action. If you don't act, it doesn't matter how many times you pray, repeat affirmations, or wait for the best. The universe only responds when you prove you're willing to move toward what you desire. And from the moment your actions align with your faith, nothing can prevent the result from manifesting. The Bible clearly teaches that whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. This is one of the most powerful laws in existence, but also one of the most misinterpreted. Most people believe this passage refers only to spiritual or religious matters, when in fact it describes a universal principle that governs all areas of life, including finances. Every attitude, every thought, every choice is a seed you're planting in the soil of your own existence, and there's no way to reap anything different from what you sow. Now think about how you handle money. If every time you receive something you hoard it out of fear of losing it, clinging to it, not investing it, not helping anyone, what are you planting? Fear, scarcity, and what will the harvest be? More fear and more scarcity. This is the cycle that imprisons millions. They want prosperity, but they act like they're living in deprivation. They pray for abundance, but their daily behavior is a testament to insecurity. I've seen this everywhere in the world. Talented, capable people who never prosper because they haven't understood this principle. It's like wanting to harvest apples after planting lemon seeds. No matter how much you desire a different fruit, what counts is what you put in the ground. When I opened my first company, a cleaning business, something inside me told me that to truly prosper, I needed to think differently. I had no experience, no formal education, but I decided that whenever I earned money, I would reinvest a portion of it and also share with others. It wasn't about obligatory charity, but about an understanding. The more I circulated the energy of money, the more it would return to me. And that's exactly what happened. In a short time, I was earning more than I ever imagined possible. Because I learned that the fear of losing closes doors, but the willingness to plant opens invisible channels of return. Have you noticed how the most prosperous people are also the most generous? Think of Oprah Winfrey. She always talks about how the practice of giving completely changed her life. The moment she understood that holding everything for herself was an act of fear, she began to plant differently, and the return came in ways that go far beyond money. Recognition, influence, abundance in every sense. Now look at your life. When was the last time you helped someone without expecting anything in return? When was the last time you invested in yourself instead of just spending to put out immediate fires? When was the last time you made a decision to sow with the future in mind, instead of just protecting yourself in the present? These are the questions that determine whether your harvest in 6 months will be abundance or frustration. Science also confirms this. Behavioral research shows that people who cultivate generosity have higher levels of happiness and well-being. They experience less financial stress, not necessarily because they earn more, but because they develop a sense of abundance. Their minds open to perceive opportunities that those who live in fear cannot see. I remember a situation where I myself had to put this principle to the test. I was starting a project, and the amount of money I had on hand was far too little for everything that needed to be done. I could have saved it, told myself. I can't risk it. I need to hold on. But I decided to invest every cent in the growth of the business, and even helped a colleague who was in difficulty. In the eyes of many, that was madness. But in less than 3 months, the return came multiplied in ways I could never have predicted. This experience taught me that planting isn't about convenience, it's about trust. So, if you desire prosperity, start now to plant consciously. Plant generosity, plant investments in yourself, plant habits of discipline, and do it without expecting an immediate return, because the soil doesn't return the fruit the next day, but it always returns, and it returns multiplied. That's the law, and the sooner you align your attitudes with it, the sooner you will begin to reap the results you so desire. One of the biggest enemies of prosperity is not a lack of ability, nor a lack of opportunity, but the fear of judgment. How many times have you stopped trying something because you were thinking about what your family would say, what your friends would think, or even what neighbors and colleagues would comment? This fear is invisible, but it's powerful. It paralyzes more than any external obstacle. The Bible warns us about this when it speaks of spirits of confusion. Often, this confusion comes disguised in the form of well-intentioned advice from close people who, without realizing it, project their own insecurities onto you and limit your growth. I experienced this very clearly when I made the decision to leave the fire department. For me, it was a logical step. I had already understood that I could not prosper if I continued stuck with a fixed salary in a limited routine. But when I spoke with family and friends, the reaction was almost unanimous. They said I was being irresponsible, that I was wasting a stability that many dreamed of having. They laughed at the idea that I could open a business without training, without experience. They called it madness. If I had listened to those voices, I would have continued living a mediocre life, never discovering how far I could go. It was at that moment that I learned. When you decide to prosper, you inevitably will cause discomfort. Modern research confirms this. A study published by Stanford University showed that 85% of people stop pursuing their biggest dreams out of fear of social judgment. This means that statistically, almost everyone around you has already given up on something important for fear of what others would say. And if you let yourself be guided by this same fear, you will end up repeating the pattern. Think of how many brilliant ideas never left the drawing board because someone said, "That won't work." Think of how many talents were never shared because someone mocked or criticized. Now imagine if those same people had trusted their inner voice instead of external opinions. The world would be completely different. Look at great names in history. When Steve Jobs started talking about personal computers, many called him a dreamer, said it was unfeasible. When J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter, she was rejected by several publishers. If they had believed in external judgment, they would not have marked the lives of millions of people. They understood that the opinions of others don't pay their bills, don't build their vision, and don't fulfill their dreams. I remember a specific episode that deeply marked me. In the first few months after opening my business, I faced difficulties. There were weeks when it seemed like nothing would work out. One of those days I met a former colleague who told me, "I knew this wouldn't work. You should have stayed at the fire department." That hit me like an arrow. For a few moments I wondered if he wasn't right. But I quickly realized that if I gave up at that moment, I would be handing over control of my life to someone who never dared to take a step outside their comfort zone. That reflection gave me the strength to continue. Months later, the business was already prospering, and that same colleague couldn't believe what I had accomplished. That's what you need to understand. Judgment will always exist, no matter what you do. If you fail, they will criticize. If you succeed, they will also criticize. So the question is not, what will they think of me? But rather, what do I want to reap from my life? Because in the end, those who criticize today probably won't be there to support you, but the consequences of your choices will stay with you forever. When you learn to break the fear of judgment, you discover extraordinary freedom. You begin to act with courage, to take more risks, to explore the potential that was hidden within you. And the more you free yourself from this invisible prison, the more the doors of prosperity open. Because true wealth is not just money, it's living according to your vision, without shrinking to fit the expectations of others. The mind is like a fertile field. Everything you plant in it grows, whether a seed of hope or a seed of fear. That's why protecting your thoughts is essential to achieving prosperity. Many people believe that their failures come from external factors, the economy, lack of support, lack of opportunities. But the great truth is that, most of the time, it's not what happens on the outside that determines the result, but what happens inside your mind. Each repeated thought generates a pattern, and each pattern shapes your identity. If you constantly find yourself thinking about scarcity, lack, difficulties, your mind will be programmed to find more of that in reality. It's like a magnet that attracts experiences aligned with what you most feed it. Science backs this up. Neuroscience studies show that consistently repeating an idea strengthens neural connections in the brain, making that thought automatic. Consequently, filling your mind with thoughts of inadequacy, Financial scarcity and bad luck programs your brain to accept these as your only reality. Ancient wisdom warned us, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This isn't mere figurative language. It's a fundamental principle. The heart, representing the unconscious mind, deeply registers impressions and externally manifests what's ingrained within us. Therefore, verbally wishing for prosperity is insufficient. Cultivating thoughts aligned with that aspiration is crucial, as the mind doesn't distinguish between fantasy and reality, responding only to repetitive stimuli. Consider elite athletes. Before a competition, many mentally rehearse every move, every detail. They visualize themselves succeeding, crossing the finish line, receiving the medal. This practice isn't just motivational, it's scientific. Studies show that intensely visualizing an action activates the same brain regions as actually performing it, preparing the mind to manifest the image. Similarly, focusing on failure, scarcity, and fear conditions your brain to accept these conditions as normal, leading to decisions that confirm those thoughts. A self-fulfilling prophecy. The person believes in their inability, acts hesitantly, conveys insecurity, attracts negative results, and confirms their initial belief. "I knew it wouldn't work." Conversely, protecting your mind and nurturing thoughts of abundance, courage, and victory leads you to act in accordance with that vision. Your posture shifts, your energy transforms, your perception of opportunities expands. The world doesn't magically change, but you do, altering the course of your trajectory. I've experienced this firsthand. There were times when continuing seemed impossible, with extremely unfavorable external circumstances. Yet instead of succumbing to thoughts of defeat, I chose to cling to the vision of what I wanted to build. I repeated to myself daily that I would prosper, that I would achieve freedom, that nothing could stop me if I remained steadfast. Over time, this conviction transcended a simple affirmation, becoming part of my identity. That's when things started to change effectively. The secret lies in constantly monitoring what permeates your mind. Negative news, pessimistic conversations, environments reinforcing scarcity. These are all like weeds in your mental garden. If you don't root them out, they'll suffocate the good seeds. Protecting your thoughts isn't an isolated act but a daily habit. It means consciously choosing what you read, listen to, and especially what you repeat internally. Understanding this principle, we realize that prosperity begins before it reaches our wallets. It's born in the invisible field of thoughts. The mind is the source, reality, the reflection. By protecting, cultivating, and nourishing your mind with images of abundance, courage, and faith, you will inevitably reap rewards in the physical world. Life always obeys the unwavering law. What you consistently think, sooner or later you become. Ancient wisdom teaches us to give thanks in all circumstances, and a detail goes unnoticed. It guides us to give thanks even before receiving. This principle seems paradoxical to the logical mind. How can you thank for something non-existent in your life? The answer lies in the nature of the mind and the energy emitted to the universe. By thanking in advance, we program our unconscious mind to perceive abundance as present reality. It's not mere optimism, but the modeling of our perception, creating internal conditions for the manifestation of the result. Many complain about their salary, debts, work, missed opportunities. And the most surprising thing is that they consider themselves realistic. But all this negativity acts like a magnet, attracting more scarcity, more problems, more frustrations. Anticipatory gratitude acts in the opposite way. It creates a field of attraction that allows opportunities and solutions to flow naturally into your life. I recall a significant experience. Before starting my first cleaning business, I had no capital, experience, or guarantees of success. But instead of focusing on the lack, I started writing and thanking daily for the desired success. I wrote detailed sentences about my income, my clientele, how the business would prosper, and gave thanks as if it were already happening. Initially, it seemed absurd, until something changed. Opportunities arose, clients trusted me, unexpected ideas emerged. It wasn't coincidence, but the practical application of this principle. Consider a well-known example. An actor wrote himself a check for $10 million years before receiving such an amount, and every day he gave thanks as if he had already received it. Years later, he received exactly that amount for his work in a film. The impossible became reality because he not only believed but gave thanks in advance and kept the vision alive in his mind. Gratitude was the engine that aligned his mind and actions with the desired result. This principle is applicable to all aspects of life. If you want a salary increase, a promotion, a new business, or a lifestyle change, start now writing in detail what you want to achieve and give thanks as if it were already in your hands. Feel the emotion of the achievement. Science shows that strong emotions associated with mental images activate the brain similarly to real experiences, preparing the mind to recognize opportunities and make decisions consistent with that state of abundance. A powerful exercise is simple. Choose a financial or personal goal for the next 6 months. Write it down as if you've already achieved it, including details like numbers, dates, feelings, and reactions. Then, daily, read it aloud and give thanks. Feel each word. This practice isn't magic, but the alignment of your unconscious mind with your desire. The secret of anticipatory gratitude is not depending on external circumstances for well-being. You begin training your mind to perceive the world as abundant, even without visible results. This daily practice transforms lives. By giving thanks before receiving, we create a powerful magnet that attracts what our mind already considers certain, inevitable, and deserved. Applying this principle, you notice something extraordinary. Your life subtly begins to change. Doors open, people appear, ideas emerge. It's as if the entire universe favors you. Ancient wisdom is clear. Genuine gratitude is the key to abundance, and its anticipation accelerates manifestation, transforming desires into reality. If you practice daily, not for minutes, but as a conscious habit, in 6 months your life will be unrecognizable. You will not only be richer financially, but transformed internally, prepared to recognize and receive what once seemed impossible. For true prosperity begins in the heart, in the mind, and in the gratitude you choose to feel now, before any tangible result. Your mind is the key to your prosperity, and it all starts with the thoughts you cultivate, with the faith you put into practice, with the seeds you plant, and with the gratitude you feel even before receiving. By internalizing and applying this daily, in 6 months, your life may transform in ways unimaginable today. And now, if you wish to progress on your journey of wisdom and become a little better than you are today, the next video on the screen will take you even deeper down this path. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you there, ready to continue this journey towards your true abundance.